Welcome to Resilience Redefined. I'm your host, Michael Ostrolenk. This show is about building better humans, institutions, and systems. On the show, I'll be interviewing many different experts from across many different fields, including human optimization, health and fitness, team building, mind-body medicine. In the institutional space, we're looking at different institutions and how we can create new ones, new models and maps, including in medicine, in education, in intelligence community, in law enforcement, in the military, especially in the special operations community. Thanks for being here and enjoy the show. So one of the questions I'm asked quite a bit is about mindset. And although one's mindset, can be used to overcome physiological and emotional rejections of what one wants to accomplish through principle and values and goals, it's a lot easier, not easy, but easier if the whole system is integrated together, working in conjunction, in alignment, heading in the same direction. And what I mean by that is, let's just say I have a mindset like I'm going to train every day. I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to do my ruck, or I'm going to go do my run, or whatever the thing is that I want to be disciplined around on a daily basis. And I'm like, cool, I have a plan. I've agreed to that plan. I want to hold myself accountable to that plan. I'm going to operationalize that plan, all that stuff, all the good mindset work that most people do if they're trying to accomplish a certain goal or outcome. Now, I could wake up in the morning and I'm like, I slept on the wrong side of the bed. I'm tired. I'm grumpy. I have other things that are distracting me. Maybe my stomach hurts, a wide variety of different things, physiological things that could be emerging. Emotions like, like maybe I'm sad or I'm angry about something and I'm distracted and I really don't want to run. Like all the feelings that come up that go counter to the exercise regime. Now, yes, discipline means we can force our way through that whole thing despite how we feel, whatever emotions might be arising, whatever feelings in the body might be there, we can push through that. And that is discipline. And that's really important to be able to do because we are not always motivated to do what we know we want to and need to do to accomplish the goals and have the outcomes we want in our lives. Motivation is great, but it's not enough because of those feelings and the thoughts and the emotions and all the stuff that can arise in the system. It's kind of demotivate me. That's why discipline is really important. Like, hey, despite how I feel, unless I'm extremely injured or something, I'm going to go do my thing. Awesome. Now, that's the mindset. My mind can overcome the limitations, the contractions, the stories that my body is telling me through the mind that I really don't want to be doing whatever the thing is, but I'm going to do it anyways. Okay. But mindset in my mind is only a piece of the puzzle. Another piece that's important is what you might call body set or the physiology. Now, yes, of course, we can't necessarily control our physiology 24/7. There will be times you're like, I'm just tired, I'm grumpy, I'm sad, and whatever the things are that's going on. But one of the things we can do is do our best to dial in our physiology to help support our mindset. Like, are we eating properly? Do we have the proper nutrition for our brain so our mind works really well? It's a good question. Are we sleeping? Good, deep sleep, good REM, all the stuff we need for recovery and rest that comes from good sleep. Are we living within the 24-hour day-night cycles of circadian biology? Are we in the rhythm of the natural rhythms in our own body that is out in nature, that reflected in the physical body? All those things are really important. Are we doing any movement practices? How we deal with our stress? You start dialing your physiology and your body gets more aligned with the mindset. Now, like I said, I can have the mindset like I'm going to go do the thing no matter what, which is awesome. And you want to train your mind to be able to do that so you can overcome the internal obstacles that are in the way of, accomplishing goals or having the outcomes you want. And it's so much better when the whole body, the whole system is aligned as best as it can be towards your goals. So besides getting really clear on the outcomes and the goals and getting your mindset right, it's also important as best as you can to dial in your physiology so it supports the mindset. So I'd say first person, how I feel inside integrated and aligned as much as possible. Integrated and aligned as much as possible. And then what can also play a good role with mindset, besides the body set, getting aligned with the mindset, is like, how do we loop in people in our social ecologies to support us and our disciplines and our practices, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's where a coach can come in, a good therapist can come in, a good workout buddy can come in, a spouse who's supportive of your growth and development can come in, whomever you can get in your social ecologies, that you let them know these are the outcomes that I want, these are the goals, these are the practices, and these are the disciplines. And these are when I'm doing them. And you ask them to hold you accountable to what you're agreeing to. They're just holding you accountable to what you're agreeing to. That can also play a really good role with mindset, because you get the support from the external world to support your mindset. Now, yes, of course, you should be able to do it, quotes, all on your own. Yes, you don't necessarily need another human being. And it can be really helpful to have another human being. Just like you don't need the physical body to be aligned with the mindset. You can push through stuff. It's important to be able to do that. I think it's just as important actually to get alignment with the body and the mind, so they're heading in the right direction as best as possible. And it also can't hurt to have alignment with people in your social ecologies that support you in your new behaviors, your new habits, your new disciplines. And they can help you hold yourself accountable to the outcomes you're seeking, the goals you have, and the disciplines and the practices you want to do on a daily basis. So I would say mindset, yes, it's how you think about this stuff. It's also the physiology of the human system, and it's also possibly your social ecologies. So, hold all three in your mind as possible legs to support whatever you're attempting to do. Hopefully that's helpful. So a question I got from the interwebs was for me to talk about discipline. And there's many different ways into the conversation on discipline, but I'll start with, there's a framework, one of the frameworks that I use. I like to use multiple different frameworks for everything, but is first person, second person, and third person. And the way to think about this is first person is what's literally happening inside of you, your worldviews, your perspectives, your motivations, your beliefs, your values, your principles, your thoughts, your feelings, your sensations, literally anything that happens in your human system subjectively. That plays a huge role, as you can imagine, with discipline, because you have to be motivated, internally, ultimately internally motivated to do whatever the thing is. Discipline is being a disciple of something bigger than yourself. So that is a perspective, a worldview. What you're being disciplined inside of is about your values, your principles, what's important to you. All those things need to be taken into consideration when you're figuring out, like, I want to be more disciplined with my eating and nutrition. I want to be more disciplined in the gym. I want to be more disciplined at work. I want to be more disciplined in my relationships with my kids, my wife, my husband, whatever the thing is. And, whatever area you want to play in, the first piece that I'll look at when I'm working with someone is their inner dynamics, how they think about the situation, the subject, the idea, what their previous history is with it. Oh, yes, I've been able to, I was an athlete as a younger person, and I was very disciplined when it comes to my physical training. Awesome. So you do have a history there. You know what it is like in that particular case of discipline. Good. We can go back and tap into some of that capacity you've already had. What are the outcomes you're seeking? Why do you want to be disciplined towards this thing? What about fitness is important to you? What about your health is important to you? What about being more productive at work is important to you? Like getting the bigger picture. So we do a deep dive into that, because what I find is you kind of, your why behind the drivers for the discipline, and it's really clear. Like it's really, really clear what that thing is. You can always go back to that and keep using it as kind of fuel to move you forward. Because what will happen is if you don't have a strong why, your feelings can get in the way. I really don't feel like doing it. I'm tired. I'm this, I'm that, and I'm the other. And we can get into recovery at another time. It's important you recover. You don't burn the candle at both ends. But knowing your why, as I said, is a fuel to help you get over whatever the feelings are in that very moment that you really don't want to do it. So that's why motivation is interesting, but not enough. You actually have to be intrinsically motivated, not actually externally motivated to do certain things. And even if you don't feel like it, the motivation is not there, if you have your why, that can kind of be the North Star pulling you forward. And then you can do mindset work. You start noticing the negative thoughts. I don't feel this, or I feel that, whatever's going on with your thinking and your feelings. And I always will suggest never deny your feelings. Don't pretend like they're not there. Don't deny your thoughts. Don't pretend that they're not there. They all offer valuable information of something that's happening in the human system. But we're not 3 years old. We don't have to act on our feelings. We don't have to act on our thoughts. We're able to, if we're an adult, and a little bit more mature, manage them. And that's where the mindset work comes in. I will work with clients around a particular discipline, whatever it is. It's like, how do we switch the thinking from the negative feelings, thoughts, I don't want to do this, to something more positive? And part of that is back tapping to the why. Part of it is looking at the outcomes that you're seeking, to remind yourself the person you're creating inside you through these actions. That's why you're doing the disciplines towards certain outcomes. And then that can also play a really important role. Kind of like the future self can help pull you as well in the right direction, so you stick to your disciplines. And there's a whole host of other kind of introsubjective things that when I'm working with a client on, I would consider. But those are just a few of the things in first person to consider, which are why are you able to be aware of your thoughts, feelings, and sensations and manage them to certain ends? Are you self-regulatory? Are you self-mastered? And if you're not, or you have certain degrees of it, that's what we work on. Like we teach you how to be more self-regulated, more self-mastered, more able to reach use the why as a fuel to reach the goals that you seek without getting distractions. All right, so that's the subjective side. That's the first person. The second person, I find this to be really important, is an accountability buddy, battle buddy, a swim buddy, a ranger buddy, depending on where you're coming from. But to have at least one person, but I always encourage even more than one person, whether it's a coach, like someone like myself, it doesn't necessarily have to be. It could be a buddy, it could be your spouse, whoever you could look to get support and accountability for whatever you've agreed to do. That can be helpful too. Now you might say, well, why do you need someone else? You should be intrinsically motivated, and you should have all the stuff inside you to be able to do whatever you want to do, regardless of the thoughts and feelings you have in your human system. I don't want to do that. Like, you should just be able to do it. Yes and no. Like, we're human beings, and we're also relational beings. And I find that if you find the right partner or partners, and you got to educate them on how you want them to support you, how you want them to hold you accountable to the disciplines that you agree to. And you need to share that with them. Some people like the drill sergeant apart. Come on, dude, what the hell? Come on, smack in the back and yell at you for being a lazy fuck, whatever the thing is. If that's not your thing, like you don't want to be yelled at and by your friend or accountability partner, let them know. Maybe it's more the cheerleader slapping the back and, hey, good job, or come on, you can do a little bit better, or however you want them to show up to both support you and hold you accountable. You need to teach them is ultimately that thing, which is what I'm sharing with you. If that changes over time, because you discover new things about yourself and how you really want to be supported by another person, you got to share that with them. And you make that part of the agreement on how they support you in whatever the disciplines you're trying to do. Part of that too, I would say, is like, whether it's a coach or a good friend or a spouse, you have to be very concrete with both the disciplines you're doing and the outcomes you're seeking in conversations with them, more importantly, really with yourself too. And what I mean by that is, let's just say you're trying to be more disciplined when it comes to physical training. If I said, yeah, I'm going to go to the gym a couple times a week, versus, I tell my coach, like, I am going Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. For this period of time, each of those 3 days, I'm going to go to the gym. And then Tuesday and Thursday, I'm going to go rucking. And then Saturday, I'm going to go do yoga at this particular time. There's a yoga class that I go to. Cool. So like, I literally lay out to these people, or this person, more importantly to myself, like, here is my actual schedule to get these things accomplished. I'm literally going to put it in my calendar. Awesome. That's really, really important. So it goes from some abstract thing like, yeah, I'm going to eat better. I'm going to work out. I'm going to be more present with my wife or my husband. I'm going to show up differently for my kids and be disciplined with my time so I can really be there for them. Like, okay, when? What's that look like? How do we know you're being successful? What are the outcomes that you're seeking? Okay, well, for fitness, like, here's my goals. For health, like, here's my DEXA scan. I want to increase muscle mass by 5 pounds. I want to decrease to like 50% body fat, whatever the things are that you're wanting to do. Can you measure it? Can you get a baseline so you know where you're starting, whether it's health or fitness or productivity at work or other things you might be doing? Get a baseline so you know where you're starting, and you can assess that over time. And you can get help assessing that over time by your partner, whether it's your coach or your business partner or your friend or your spouse. They can see, oh, wait, yeah, you are actually going to the gym 3 times a week for that hour. You are doing your rucking. You are doing yoga on Saturday. Awesome. Or, if you mess up a few times, they can hold you accountable to that or ask you questions and, make sure you're on target. But you want to be able to assess those things. And the baseline piece of that too is really important because, if you're doing SEAL Fit, for instance, you got PSTs because you're going to do Kokoro camp or something like that. You have a certain amount of push-ups you need to do and pull-ups and a run for 1.5 miles and, all the stuff. So you get your PSTs, what you're capable of doing, and you improve over time. The improvement over time is really important because what's the discipline for? If you don't have the goal in mind, the outcome you're seeking, and you're not doing the practices on a regular daily basis, if it's a daily practice, you'll know for sure that you're not reaching those goals. You're not reaching the outcome you seek. Oh, I can't do the pull-ups. I can't do the push-ups. I can't do the run. Well, you need to reevaluate what you're doing within the context of the disciplines or the practices. So it's also important, as I said, to have outcomes that you're seeking, goals along the way, and ways of measuring those things. Now, the measuring thing goes to the third person. And I kind of conflated a little bit of the third person and the second person, but kind of went on a tangent there. The second person is your friend, your colleague, your spouse, your coach, and they hold you accountable to what you've agreed to do. These are the practices I want to do. Third person is something objective you can measure. And this would be like, hey, I'm going to get a DEXA scan today, and then I'm going to be disciplined in my physical training and my diet and nutrition, and in 6 months, I'm going to do a DEXA scan. And with your diet and your dial in your physical training, most likely you'll see improvements in muscle mass and fat loss as one example. Now, if you don't, and you're doing a really good job of diet and nutrition, and you're doing a really good job of physical training, well, there's other factors you need to look into. Maybe you're overly stressed. Maybe you're overtraining. Maybe you're not getting enough calories. You're not getting the proper mixture of macronutrients or micronutrients. Maybe you're not sleeping well. There's a wide variety of different factors you can start looking at, but you won't know until you measure something. Okay. So as I said, for all these things, it's important to get a baseline and then measure it over time. And you can adjust your program, your disciplines, your practices accordingly. So measure, and then assess over time and see that if you're on the right track to the outcomes you're seeking to meet the goals, the micro goals along the way. So for discipline, I'll quickly review. It's what's happening inside your mind and even your physical body, your nervous system. You want to get the right mindset, a growth mindset. You want to have a good why. You want to manage your nervous system. You want to be an observer of your thoughts and feelings so you don't have to act on them. You can do like a mantra and other breath practices to increase the energy of the system, to get it focused, front-side focused on the disciplines you want to do so you get them done. Second person, have an accountability partner or partners, support and accountability. And then the third person is like, let's measure things so we can see improvement over time. That is one model that I use around discipline. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I'm more than happy to answer. And I appreciate you watching.